I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and we are in day 6 of round 1 of the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League, and we're about to witness a match between the reigning runner-up of the World Championship, the veteran from Hungary, József Tihon, with the screen name szigfrid, and the newer player who started playing just during the pandemic but learned a lot and has been expert already for a very long time, Leonel Munoz, with the screen name LordTrooper of Argentina. Due to his experience, szigfrid will be a favorite here, but not by much. Sort of, I would bet maybe 60% chance for szigfrid winning, so anything could happen. We don't know how are the players' moods today, how are they feeling. Maybe the time zone is a bit more favorable to the Argentina because there is now, I think, still a little bit of light left. And of course, a lot of things will be decided by the tiles drawn. Now, in this group situation, in Group D, that they're playing, LordTrooper is nominally the last player, but I think it's a bit unfair. So szigfrid, of course, is going to be the undisputed leader of the group because his peak elo is over 800, and I don't think there's really anybody who could contest his leadership. Well, maybe the new British master Lord Terrycloth could probably take a match off him, but I would be extremely surprised if szigfrid does not occupy one of the top 3 spots to advance to the next round. As for the other 2 spots, they're completely up for grabs. Any of these 5 players could take them, and probably my personal favorites would be, I mean, not personal favorites, but the ones who I think would be likely to take this are, in fact, Lord Terrycloth of the UK and LordTrooper of Argentina. We will find out in a few weeks whether this is true, and we will find out over the course of the next 2 hours whether Argentina can deliver a bit of an upset today. Hi, Andres. We will be starting the game shortly. It should start in 2 minutes. I think I've mentioned anything that I were to mention in the introduction. Oh yeah, some interesting facts about the players. So szigfrid has been playing from 2007, is already very well known, also as the captain of Team Hungary. LordTrooper in real life is a theology student, and what's better Carcassonne preparation that can there possibly be than to understand the creator of the game? So for those of you who don't know, Klaus-Jürgen Wrede, the creator of Carcassonne, is also a theologist himself. So it is quite possible that embarking on his course could have helped him acquire some Carcassonne wisdom. The game has been created and already started 1 minute prematurely, so good thing that we were a bit early on the stream. And LordTrooper with the black meeples is the first one to start. Meeples a 2-point road. szigfrid with his red meeples places one on a city. And the Argentinian now has a dagger tile with 2 possible responses. He could just connect to the city straight up, or what probably I prefer in this case, he could just push the road into the city and start a new city for himself. Now, there are different situations possible, and in some situations it's better to make this move, and in some situations it's better to start a move like this. And actually, I'm quite impressed that Black managed to recognize this. So the main idea is that we get the open city cap, we can finish the city cap later, we get later to block. And normally, it's not such a good idea just because it's very easy for red to draw a tile that fit here and continue his city. But in this case, if red successfully continues his city, he will be helping black to build up his road. And this makes all the difference. Red, of course, tries to neutralize black's little city cap with a city of his own, and the point of moves like these is now that black used a worse tile to equalize the city which has been occupied with a better tile. And moreover, now actually black will need to work to fill up the square, because if black is not careful enough, red could build up around over here, block the square, block the meeple of his own as long as his opponent's, and then gets an 8-point ruin or something like this. It's a very equal position, looks like a very tight position. Now, Lord here chooses to simply dump a semi-blocky move. This is a rather weak move, simply because it just doesn't do much. I would have preferred simply starting a new road, gunning for 4 points with a loop like this. Yeah, because a move like this can actually backfire quite a lot. Imagine if szigfrid draws something like a road monastery and places it over here. Then suddenly, there's going to be a 3-point road sticking into red sides of the city, so that would be a road that really only red can benefit from. The only way to meeple that road will be to place a city plus road tile over here, which would be adding tiles to red's part of the city. But the positive side of this move from black is that it disallowed red from meepling the same road in a similar fashion. Red just chose to harass black's road a little bit, an issue that has been instantly resolved by black adding 1 point over here. szigfrid with a cow tile. Lots of these big tiles at the start, so it means that the city caps and monasteries have all been saved for later by the board game arena developers or by the randomized algorithm. I guess a move like this is possible, building up his city at the top, trying then to draw something like this, like this, like this, and then eventually get a tile that fits over here. This is exactly what szigfrid goes for. There was an alternative of building this side, but this is a little bit stronger. Mr. Lord here with a starting tile does not have many options, chooses to start a new city, but not in the best possible place. So this is the first real misstep of the game. I really cannot see why black chose this placement as opposed to just starting a new city over here. What was wrong with starting a city over here and then trying to attack this square a little bit and having your own city safer? My suspicion is that black simply forgot that this square exists. An alternative was going over here and trying to protect his road indirectly and also having his city safer. But this move, it just puts this city under attack. It's really, really not a good idea. So my possible explanations is just either hallucination or maybe that was a misclick, but once you place the misclick, then black realizes that you still have to meeple the city cap because you just can't leave this open. Yeah, and sadly black with another mistake here, meepling the monastery for 3 points, which is not the worst idea necessarily. Like, it's not a bad move because it controls this red city cap a little bit, and I guess he's intending to draw a Dorito tile and go over here, but it's actually not ideal, first of all, because this square, it's not super vulnerable, but it is a little bit vulnerable, and there actually are some scenarios how 3 meeples of black get blocked. It doesn't happen very often. It happens maybe 5% of the time. But the mechanism here is that we get a Dorito tile with a road as red, then black doesn't get a defense, and then we get another curve and stick it into here. So we stick black's roads into here, and this square is blocked, this meeple is blocked with 1 point. This guy gets to live and develop. And the other problem with this move is that even if we do get the tile that we want, which we will, like the Dorito with the road, or with the field rather, it will give black an easy chance to go over here, and it will give red an easy chance to go over here and reinvade with one of the Doritos with the road and claim a 12-point city for himself. So there is an added issue. It was basically just better to place a monastery over here, which would have been 5 points with a covered square next to it. So yeah, one misstep leads to another, and you see, because the city was started in a vulnerable position, Mr. Lord here is forced to just get rid of that meeple, get rid of that city, take the 4 points, and he's not able to productively start a new city, so which is what you want to be doing in openings. You want to have 2 cities open in case you draw your giraffe next tiles or other tiles for city extensions. But look at Szigfrid now. He is a bit defeating his usual conservative style, and it is paying off for now as he starts a 5-point road in a rather risky place with 2 vulnerable squares. But he can cover up one of these vulnerable squares immediately. That should be a strong move here. Yes, this square is still a bit sensitive, but nothing much that red can do about it. And even if it gets restricted, there will still be 2 dagger tiles that fit over here. But Mr. Trooper here with a great tile, or is it though? My first instinct as black is to go over here and try to equalize this road, which is probably something that you want to do because there are so many tiles for szigfrid that can give himself a 7-point road and a meeple back. But the issue with that move is that we're actually running very short on straight road tiles to connect. In fact, there are only 2 straight roads remaining in the deck because a lot of them have already been drawn. Look at all these 6 road tiles over here. So actually, Trooper here has only 2 tiles to connect, while szigfrid still has 3 crossovers like this available to separate. And that's why Mr. Lord here doesn't even bother. szigfrid draws the 7th straight line, probably going to cover up this square. I don't really see anything better. Note also that black doesn't even want to close his road, and that is because black is anticipating this square potentially being blocked and this road meeple being blocked together with the city meeple. And in that sense, in that case, it's actually better to keep the road open so that we can keep dumping road tiles there. On the other hand, with only 1 straight road tiles remaining, there's very, very little value in keeping this road open, or at least less than there normally is. Mr. Lord starting a new city and trying to construe a cunning plan of drawing multiple Doritos, and all of, well, after szigfrid's move, 9 of them will be remaining in the deck. And look at the stuff that I was talking about. So a big, big threat here by the Hungarian. Unless the Argentinian does something, a curve will go over here and block the square for ultimate devastation. So Mr. Trooper has to bite his teeth and use the Dorito in a bit of a counterproductive way. And the reason why it's counterproductive, well, first of all, because he wanted to go over here and set up his connection, but now he can't just because this threat was too dangerous. And as a result, there's now only 1 tile that fits into this square. The triple city with the road. And if black doesn't draw that triple city with the road, I really just don't know what black's going to be doing with this game with the 1-point meeple blocked. Black at the very least managed to disrupt szigfrid's city significantly and somehow still ahead on the scoreboard. But soon enough, the Hungarian player will get into the rhythm of the game, probably get on the scoreboard somehow, might go over here to get a monastery point, set up another, and disrupt the square a little bit. Could also go over here trying to block this square, which I think is a little bit premature. Let's see what the Hungarian chooses in a second. Hi Wisemaze, hi Ian, hi Helge, hi Naleheim. Naleheim saying, would have loved to see the splitter being used next to the monastery, taking away the tension and hoping to re-attack the bottom. I actually agree. I believe going over here was the best move. So with the splitter by black, actually just cashing out on 4 points and then still having enough time to re-attack the city. I do think that was strongest. Maybe black figured that because all Doritos were still in the deck, just a sequence of multiple Doritos was much more likely than usual, with just under 50 tiles remaining. So black's move still made sense. Szigfrid decides to take one monastery point differently, and black decides to bail out of that situation. I think the idea of black here is that it's already unlikely enough that he's going to draw the cow tile soon enough, so that he doesn't want to get another meeple stuck in a city which is unlikely to be completed. And 8 points on the scoreboard are not to be sneezed at. Szigfrid with a dagger tile starts a new city at the same time obstructing black's monastery. There are now only 2 daggers that fit into this square. In the meantime, Mr. Lord here decides to invade Szigfrid's city, but the Hungarian gets another city down in another side of the board and gets on the scoreboard with 4 city points and 2 road points. Mr. Lord here with finally a road end tile, and in this case it's not a bad idea at all to try and close your road, because the critical square has been filled. And the reason why we need to close that road is not so much to get our meeple back, but more so that our opponent cannot re-attack that road in the future. By the way, the orientation of this tile is a clear and absolute mistake, just because even though there's only 1 straight tile remaining, Szigfrid can still use a starting tile or a straight tile to go over here and finish the monastery and finish the road without using a road end. Well, I guess now the plan is sort of revealed, as LordTrooper is now trying to build up over here and make it harder to finish the road, but here we see the consequences. It's not really harder to complete the road when there's just when there's still 2 road monasteries in the deck, but a lovely 10-point road finally being completed by Mr. Trooper here. Actually, instead of this move, what I would have preferred to see is a move over here, pre-building a road that goes next to his monastery, and at the same time creating an attacking spot against Red City. Maybe black didn't want to do this in order not to disrupt this square, and this paid off because black managed to use the square to successfully retrieve his road meeple. 2 points on the board for black, but overall a better position for red, who is about to finish an 8-point city, who has a monastery extra compared to black, and black, with the long-term meeple trouble, really needs the cow tile here soon in order to win. Joseph with the last starting tile. I really wonder why he just doesn't want to finish his city. I certainly respect using your clock with 45-second increment that keeps renewing every turn. You want to be using all your increment or most of it every turn, but then whenever that happens, I kind of get a bit worried that the player might be considering a different move, whereas getting your city out of harm's way is clearly best here. With this city cap, a strategic decision is in order for Lord. He could either keep going small, maybe just starting a new city somewhere, maybe here, or maybe at the very top, with the idea of just simply scoring a little bit, keeping close on the scoreboard, not creating any big fields, anticipating long-term meeple problems, and then seeing whether or not he draws this tile soon enough. And depending on that, he could adjust his long-term strategy. A more fast-paced approach is just go ahead over here and drop a farmer. This farmer has already gotten 6 points and some chances to get more points, but a patient approach has been elected by the Argentinian player. Szigfrid now gets a Dorito tile and has very good uses for it. Option 1 would be to go at the bottom, adding 1 point to his monastery, indirectly continuing his side of the city, and also setting up another monastery with which to complete his monastery. And there are still 3 monastery tiles available, so this setup would be quite strong. Another option would be to go over here. The disadvantage of that move is that it scores potentially 0 points because the city could be shared, but the advantage of that move is that it puts a lot of pressure on the square. Given the fact that 6 out of the big tiles have gone out, it's actually quite possible for szigfrid to draw something like a cow tile and then block the square completely. And because of this possibility, Mr. Lord here is forced to use a good scoring tile to connect to the ruin, whilst of course he would have loved to just use it to score 2 points. But in this instance, it is correct. We can't really be waiting for too long to connect to this ruin, because later szigfrid could go up top and try to block the square. Especially since, now that there's only 1 triple city tile remaining, we already need that tile in this spot over here. Well, thank you, Wisemate, for pointing out that actually a lot of these meeple problems are just are due to the suboptimal placement of the monastery early on. So these long-term ripple effects is something that I try to talk more about in my most recent streams, just showing how these opening decisions can really impact the game later on. For this reason, the Czech 2012 world champion Martin Mojžíš, who is of course also known for playing slow. So imagine, everybody of course would have loved to see a Mojžíš versus Tichon match. Maybe, oh yeah, it won't happen in this Champions League because Martin is not playing in it. But the way he uses his time, it's not just that he uses a lot of clock. In a fixed time format without increment, he actually spends like 5 minutes on the opening, whereas most players would play like 2 minutes on the opening. So he spends a third of his time, maybe more, on just the opening move, because he believes that it's important to get those moves right, and for an experienced player, the other moves are more or less automatic. Well, I guess automatic is a bit of a stretch, but middle game moves are much easier to find. szigfrid now, with a Dorito tile with some interesting options here. And just as I was going to talk about this, he makes by far the best move, I believe. And that's really not easy to find. So the idea of this move is to steal this ruin, of course. And it can be done in various ways. So szigfrid now, of course, is going to go over here and defend. And Lord now has a great move to go over here and pre-build a road for himself. Yes, excellent find. Chooses to even meeple a 6-point farm. I mean, why not? If you have a lot of meeples, he can later drop on some city caps with tempo. But yeah, but the idea is that now the connection to this ruin is unblockable, and there's still 3 tiles that can accomplish this. Tile number 1, of course, is the triple city tile, the same tile that Mr. Trooper needs over here. And there's still 2 giraffes necks available. And moreover, there are no splitters remaining, so there's no way to prevent red from connecting to the square other than simply drawing all 3 tiles, which is a difficult task given that the chances of that happening are only just over 12%. Szigfrid decides to add a point to his monastery. There were some alternatives available, and look at that. Mr. Trooper now invades the city on the right, which I believe is the right thing to do. Or is it? Actually, I'm really not sure. Maybe it was just better to develop the field and simply let red take over the ruin. It will be worth like 14 points, but maybe we can live with it. Because the reason I'm a bit afraid here is the fact that we're not that big on Doritos. I mean, there are 6 Doritos remaining. Okay, I guess there's a lot. No, 5 Doritos remaining. Okay, I can't do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so 6 Doritos remaining. Okay, I guess that's good. But there are no triple city tiles remaining. I mean, there's one which fits into this square, but we can't count this because we already need this in this square. So this means that black can draw a Dorito and a Dorito only. But in the meantime, what szigfrid could do, he could build up over here. Yep, exactly. And try to really put a lot of pressure against this square. Oh, no, 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 no. Mr. Lord drops a second farmer, which should be a strategic loss for black. This field is just not big enough to justify the investment of a second meeple. Well, we could be proven wrong, but we won't. But we won't. Yeah, it's... this is the type of move that I've seen players play a lot, like in the 2010s. This is, you know, using a road monastery as a farming tile, which is not bad necessarily, but it is a bit inefficient, and it is investing another meeple in a game. And again, also playing the last meeple over here seems a bit superfluous. Yeah, because like if you place a tile over here, then you know that your opponent cannot meeple the city cap productively because he will be subjecting his city to a block. So you can just leave this open and keep your meeple in case you draw the last remaining dagger tile to take advantage of this 7-point road. szigfrid, in the meantime, manages to complete the block at the top just before Mr. Lord were going to connect. And with that, well, I don't want to say that this game has already been won, but what I do want to say is that it will be extremely difficult for black. So what would black need to do? Option 1 is drawing all 3 tiles that fit into that square. A bit of a tall order. Option 2 is going over here, then getting an 8-point city, then developing his field a little bit more, getting quick points, maybe blocking this meeple, and then drawing just 1 tile. This guy that goes over here, or black actually might have to use this tile over here. szigfrid now with a bit of a miss, sadly. The first miss from the Hungarian in this game, who chose to continue his own city, but it was much stronger to go over here and block black's meeple. By adding 1 point to this city, or 2 points to the city rather, szigfrid would minimize the variance in this game, because it would make sure that Lord's meeple does not see the lights of day unless szigfrid's city is also completed. Of course, normally this move makes a lot of sense, but not with this particular tile runout, and not when you have a meeple and your opponent doesn't. So when you have a situation like this, the main priority that you have should be keeping your opponent without meeples, and adding this Dorito to the city would have done so. Because, again, there are no splitter tiles available, so black would not have been able to complete a 10-point city like this. In fact, black would have been forced to get a tile like this and use it over here against szigfrid. And now we also see a bit of a miss from black, I think, who could have gone over here and obstructed szigfrid's city. Instead, szigfrid's going to go over here and add himself a point and then try to get a city cap and finish a city. Yeah, well, at least Mr. Lord gets his coin flip for a 7-point road. szigfrid, of course, with the coin flip, went for a much, much more important tile. He will have this huge ruin, and black will not have a huge ruin. And black won't have this ruin either, and black will have a meeple minority. And he will have a field worth 12 points for the investment of only a couple of farmers. But what Lord does have that szigfrid doesn't is a scoreboard lead, and this is where his chances lie. Maybe with some sort of straightish tile, he could go over here and score some extra points. But wait, there are no straight lines, and there are no starting tiles, and there are no crossroads, so is there really no tiles that fit there? Let me just double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, there is one tile that fits there. That is the straight line. And it's also another important coin flip, because if szigfrid gets the straight line, he gets to go over here, score 5 points for the road, and this would also unify the two farmers. I'm saying that they scored 12 points, but this is not entirely true, because at the moment they're scoring 15. The two farms are now separate. Black has 2 cities over here, and this meeple scoring 6 points. And the other black meeple having here, scoring 9 points. I'm just saying 12, because later when these farms are unified, it will become one farm for a city, so it will be only worth 12 points. And I'm kind of assuming that they will be unified just because there are 2 routes for it to happen. But in case they don't get unified, this will then expose the leftmost farm to attack. For example, szigfrid could get his straight line. I mean, if szigfrid gets a straight line, of course, he should go over here. But should that prove not possible, maybe Mr. Trooper chooses to go over here, for example, and block this opportunity. That also makes sense. Then if these farms are separate, then suddenly this meeple, although scoring a bit more points, has no support. And szigfrid can just use a straight line to go over here and connect to the farm. So this is indeed the move that we see. So Mr. Lord blocked this opportunity just in case szigfrid draws the last straight line, and also sets up another city cap in his field, which I believe is still live because there's still one crossroads remaining. Now Mr. Lord gets a monastery tile and a chance to score nothing. No, to score 9 points because there is straight line still remaining. szigfrid is now building up his city over here, but are there still many caps to complete it? I see only the crossroad tile. So this actually could get real close real soon. There are no vanilla city caps remaining. There are no splitters of any kind. How are we doing? There are no starting tiles, of course, and there are no daggers. Yeah, so the only city cap remaining is this one. And if Mr. Lord gets a straight line, gets his meeple back with 9 points, then gets a double city cap, not a double city cap, but a crossroads city cap, goes over here, takes 4 points for the city, 3 points for the field, then that should probably be enough in combined with his scoreboard lead to win. Mr. Lord with a monastery tile probably has a 1 in 6 chance to win. Or maybe even 1 in 12. Just because he really needs both tiles. So he needs the straight line to get the meeple back so that he can score. And then he needs the city cap to score for his field, and so that szigfrid does not complete his city. Whilst he's thinking where to place this monastery, which I think could not even be consequential, although, yeah, he decides to just go at the top. szigfrid simply makes his top scoring move of finishing a monastery and dropping a 3-point farmer. Well, LordTrooper does draw a city cap, which is good for him, but szigfrid will get the straight line and use it to score a 6-point field. This game actually will be fairly close, so szigfrid has a huge ruin, but LordTrooper has a boatload on the farms. This 6-point farmer from the Hungarian should do it. Okay, he chooses a different 6-point farm, not that it really matters. The final coin flip goes in the way of szigfrid. It's not a big deal because Lord just simply cannot score a point over here. Chooses to discard the tile this way. And now we will see who won. It should be the Hungarian, but with not a lot of points. So 16 points was the worth of the city. But LordTrooper with many more farms. The 8-point monastery needs not be forgotten. And we're going to find out what the final point difference is. Of course, szigfrid has some fields of his own. And only 4 points, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, 10 points. 10 points is the difference. So I don't think there was really a chance for Lord at all with correct play. Well, wait, maybe there was a 1 in 12 chance. So imagine if he gets a straight line and then szigfrid doesn't get... Okay, 1 in 24 chance, I think. Yep, 1 in 24 chance. And the way this works, with the following sequence, maybe Lord could have won. So straight line. Then szigfrid gets the road Dorito. Then Lord gets the city cap, and then szigfrid gets the field Dorito. It's important that szigfrid gets the field Dorito last, because on his penultimate move, the Hungarian was able to use this Dorito to score quick 4 points, finish a monastery, and then drop a farmer. So that's a way to score points without a meeple investment. So let's say, had he not done that, szigfrid's strongest sequence would have been, I don't even know what. I guess something like a 4-point road over here. And then a 2-point city move, just by adding the Dorito to this tile over here, because he didn't have meeples after this road placement. So this would have scored him, yeah, so this would have scored him 6 points instead of 10. So he would have gotten 4 fewer points. On the other hand, if Lord gets this tile over here, he scores 1 extra for the monastery. And then after he gets this tile over here, he has a meeple, so he can score 4 points for the city. And of course, the city was already on Black's field, so Black scored for it. So this means that Black would have scored 5 points. And even with the best possible outcome of tiles in the 1 in 24 scenario, Lionel would still have lost with 1 point. So this just shows that the Hungarian, after drawing this tile, had complete control over the game. And we will be updating the scoreboard. It's 1 szigfrid, LordTrooper 0. Let's see. So they haven't started the second game. Szigfrid was requesting a 2-minute break. Well, I guess I've been rambling long enough that the break should be over. But yeah, we can see how it's really just these opening plays that ended up having the ripple effects. It's mainly that monastery placement over here that did LordTrooper in. Also, there was a chance to bail out early with a splitter, and Szigfrid recognized the sensitivity over here, created the attack by continuing his own city, and this forced Mr. Lord into a clunky tile placement. Yeah, a great game here from the Hungarian. I guess the only true mistake was giving Lionel the chance by not blocking his city over here. Probably, I'm pretty sure that wasn't a conscious decision, because you see Szigfrid took his time on all moves except that one, and that one he played instantly. I'm pretty sure had he actually seen this option of going over here, he would have chosen it. It's just something that didn't cross his mind. At the highest level of Carcassonne, it's not about seeing moves that much, because most top-level players see all the possibilities. It's about making the right choice, or the choice that gives you the best winning chance between those possibilities. But sometimes, just sometimes, it is possible that a player simply does not consider a move. Yeah, and as a result, the consequences were there. So Lord got his 8-point city and his farmer development and a meeple back, and Red ended up without a completed city. Oh, thank you for confirming that they have in fact started. Already 2 minutes ago. And the Hungarian gets the starting player advantage and the advantage on the scoreboard. This is looking really good for Szigfrid here. Also the first on the monastery. Also now painful move against this meeple over here. And there are still 3 tiles that fit into this square, but the placement of the road is awkward a little bit, because you see this road meeple cannot go over here, because if he goes over here, he will be exposing a blocking platform against this square. So he will need to wait until he gets one of the 3 dagger tiles and only then complete the road. But the issue with that is that in the meantime, whilst his road meeple is waiting, which is a problem in and of itself, because of the quadruple road tile has gone out, Red can in the future try and conjure a block against this square. So even if Red fails to block this square and Black ends up making alive out of this precarious city situation, there are many situations where Black loses this meeple instead. Yeah, it's kind of funny how, well, not funny, but it's interesting how in those closely placed meeples, it's not obvious which one of them is getting blocked, but one of them is getting blocked. In the meantime, the Hungarian just furthers his advantage by drawing a couple of more monasteries. I'm a bit surprised by this placement, though. I think it was a bit better to use the stacking approach over here rather than over here. Just because there's this Black monastery that controls this square, and that's not ideal. So, for example, Black could go here and then here, but add himself monastery points and then try to make some disruptions against this square, all whilst making productive moves. And generally, having your meeples at the bottom was just a way to build your monasteries unobstructed. Also, these monasteries are a bit far from each other, so it's actually quite difficult to complete both of these monasteries, not because they're going to get blocked, but simply because they require 5 more tiles, all to be placed by red. And the only true way how red finishes both of his monasteries is if he gets another one over here and does the stacking approach. But if he's going to draw another monastery, then red just wins anyway. Red starts a new city at the bottom. He's not willing to add tiles here yet. Well, he might do this now with an idea to open a blocking attack against this square. But he might not want to do that just because it's a bit easy to defend. There's still 7 straight lines remaining, and if he goes over here trying to expand his city, then black can easily get a tile that defends both of his meeples. And look at that. He decides to simply break black's city, an excellent choice here, and black decides that he has waited for too long. He will sacrifice one of his meeples, and I think it's the right choice here. szigfrid, of course, will complete the block. Simply because if he waits too long, he's going to lose this road meeple anyway, and this tile here just fits too good. And in some situations, for example, if szigfrid were not to get this curve, then Mr. Lord could actually score for this road over here, and then set up a very nice 4-point road going through his own city. And also another reason why I like black's decision to risk his meeple, even though it didn't pay off, is because red already drew one of the 3 tiles that fit into that square, so with only 2 tiles available, this meeple has become a bit less worth to bother about. And black could absolutely still win this game. He still has a meeple majority somehow. Red, I think, with a bit of a misstep here, kind of finishing not the monastery that I would have preferred, probably going over here and getting a meeple back immediately would have been my choice. Also, breaking up his own monastery spot isn't great. And would you look at that? The blocker becomes the blockee, as LordTrooper is 1 tile away from blocking szigfrid's much more impactful city. He already eliminated a lot of options, now leaving only 2 tiles over here. szigfrid does not get a defense, he simply finishes his city at the bottom. But Lord also chooses not to block just yet, simply because this tile is too good. I'm not sure about that move, actually. As black, I think I would have chickened out. I would have preferred to just go over here, start a new city, and complete the block. There's still plenty of sequences that allow szigfrid a winning draw, like a starting tile. He could get a starting tile and then set up one of the 2 remaining daggers. As for this move, it's really nice that it scores a lot. It scores 4 points and it prepares the completion of the city. But with 5 field Dorito tiles still remaining, was it really that urgent to go over there? That was a rhetorical question. It wasn't urgent to go over there. Even though this sort of square is a bit sensitive, like szigfrid could have gone over here, opened up a blocking attack, but still, 5 Doritos. szigfrid cannot defend his city easily. He probably should go on one of the side and try to attack. Now Lord gets the Dorito, okay, gets the block anyway, so it is a sequence being completed. And look at this, so red tried so hard to block black, but instead black managed to make a more impactful block, saying, "You think a player starts his city and loses a meeple? You think that of me? No, I'm the one who blocks." Maybe some of y'all will get the reference. szigfrid, with a straight line, just simply continues his monastery, and Lord gets the dagger tile, which would have fit over here, but it fits into a much better square to give him way more points and the lead in this game. He's even thinking about dropping a farmer, which I think would be a bit overkill, but wouldn't be a big mistake anyway. Just with 4 meeples and 40 tiles remaining, we really want to be doing that. Only a slight lead for Lord, though. He will be getting 14 points for the city, bringing his total lead to 21. But szigfrid has 5 extra city points over here in this indirect mini battle of 2 blocked meeples, and has 2 monasteries, which are relatively close to completion, and an open city cap. So it's only like 4 or 5 points fewer for the Hungarian. The farmer has been deployed. Not the worst decision. Maybe there could be better farms later on. I mean, it's now only 3 points. It will, of course, get connected over here and get 6 points. But beyond that, it's going to be tricky. Just because of these straight lines over here, these road tiles, it's a bit difficult to deploy new city caps into the field. So black would need to draw something like this dagger over here. There's still 2 of those in the deck, but he would also draw them in the right order. He would need to draw the dagger before he draws the other city caps to start a new city like this, then finish it over here, and this would make his fields grow. There are some other options. For example, he could get a road and another road and finish a 4-point road, and then he would get a 6-point monastery. And this, in turn, would open up the field real nicely, giving it a lot of squares. Still, some work needs to be done before that is to happen. There are only 2 monastery tiles remaining anyway. And it is the Hungarian player with the city cap. What is he going to do? He just chooses to start a new city. And look at this. The dagger that I was talking about is immediately drawn by Mr. Lord here. This is probably the best tile in the deck that he could have drawn in this situation. So this farmer will have no problems long term. The Hungarian finishes the city of his own. And black now with another city cap, also an interesting choice. The options are, we could just finish our own city, but I'd probably hold up on that a little bit. We could go over here, expand our farm, but there's still plenty of other tiles. There's still 2 monasteries. There's still a bunch of curves that go here, so that would be a bit inefficient. So what else could we do? Maybe just starting a new field over here is not the worst idea. 6 points, potentially 9 points upon a completed city cap. Putting some pressure against these monastery squares seems like the move here. There is a downside that black will be playing on 2 fields, so that would be dispersing his energy a little bit. But since red will take a while to get meeples back from his monasteries, black won't suffer from any meeple disadvantage. Nevertheless, the cautious move follows by Lord. 21 points ahead on the scoreboard is comfortable enough for him. And szigfrid gets a meeple back as well. Only -12 on the scoreboard for the Hungarian. Mr. Lord with a great tile, but will he find the best move? Given the fact that there's still 4 Dorito tiles remaining, or rather 3 Dorito tiles remaining, he goes over here and starts a new city, which is the best move. Even if he doesn't get to complete his city, at the very least his meeple is very nicely ties. At least this meeple very nicely curbs the development of this monastery. And he could just go over here with a Dorito tile and then let black let red decide whether to block the square or to try and invade the city or to do nothing about this. And now a great move by szigfrid. He sacrifices a point. Instead of taking 3 points over here next to his monastery, he chooses to go over here and try to considerably limit black's field. Excellent idea. There are very few tiles that fit into this square, and even if black gets one of them, black actually needs them elsewhere. The 2 road Doritos he needs over here to build up his city. And the regular city caps, well, first of all, there's only one of those remaining. And second, I mean, do I really need to explain some good uses for city caps? City caps are for building cities. So an excellent move here from the Hungarian. But this gives some options for the Argentinian back. Lionel could now go here for 3 points, potentially making it harder for red to finish the monastery, or easier to finish the monastery depending on what draws. Another option for black is to ignore this road and go over here and try to build up his city like this. The one move that he shouldn't play is going over here. Yep, and he does indeed go the city route. Szigfrid should now not finish his city, and there's still plenty of city caps to do this. The best move for the Hungarian is probably going over here, taking 3 points, and preparing to continue his monastery with another city cap. It is possible to technically block this monastery, but it's not that easy to do. Szigfrid trying hard to decide between multiple moves. So I guess I see why the reservation. So if you make this move, there are still 6 curvy tiles remaining, with which black can go over here and commit the square towards a 50-50. I still think it was worth it, but this move, for only 2 fewer points, is actually a nice alternative because it creates an attacking square against black city over here. But black, with a road monastery, develops his field super nicely, takes 6 points for monastery, and sets up a 4-point road, which would even add 1 more city into his field by bringing this guy over. The downside of that move is that it gives Szigfrid some additional chances to come back into this game by simply winning a good old field fight. You could just go over here, drop a farmer. Go over here, drop a farmer. Go over here, drop a farmer. Like, so many options. If we're desperate, we could even go over here, drop a farmer, and like connect like this. There's so many field connection platforms. Both sides have an equal number of meeples. And red is getting 1 more meeple back over here, so this field is now kind of up for grabs. And we see the farmers flying. Red gets a farmer over here. Will black respond with a farmer over here? Or will black take the 4 points first? Or maybe he wants to go over here and threaten the completion of the city ASAP. I probably want to just take the points real quick, because if black goes over here and drops another farmer, we still have 1 more platform to equalize. So the field geometry is very important. Whenever you're looking for a big field fight, and let's say you have an unlimited number of meeples, which practically speaking both of these players having, you want to check whether there is an odd number of connection platforms remaining or an even number of connection platforms remaining. If there is an odd number of connection platforms remaining, it's very important to be first on one of those platforms, because you get one, your opponent gets one, you get one, your opponent gets one, and in the end you get in 1 more farmer. But because there's an even number of platforms remaining, this one and this one, 2 platforms, you get one, your opponent gets one, no big deal. Or your opponent gets one and you get one. So it doesn't really matter who goes first. It only matters a little bit for those unlikely situations where you don't draw a farming tile. So let's say if red gets a straight line and goes over here, and black draws something like the last Dorito with the road, there's no way to attach that tile to a field, so from the farmer's standpoint, black just has to sort of skip a turn, and then red gets to drop another farmer, and then you lose the game. So there is that small chance. But certainly, it's absolutely worth taking a break and taking these 4 points. Now that I think about this, there's another extremely sneaky connection platform, and one that is actually completely unblockable. Red can draw a curve and can and should go over here, dropping a farmer like this. And then that would threaten the connection over here through a crossroads together with a 4-point road extra, or the connection through a simple curve like this, through the outside of a curve. The only way to block such a connection would be by drawing the one and only remaining crossroads and going over here before szigfrid draws one of the many curves. So now we're going to see, will red go for this platform or for this? And red goes for neither, which actually makes sense. So probably red just postponing the field invasion and also taking a 9-point field of his own. And also, quite importantly, pre-finishing his monastery, at the same time slightly obstructing Black City. And there are even some scenarios how maybe szigfrid goes over here with a crossroads or something like this, takes a couple of points, obstructs the square, and then maybe he can afford to get the last remaining Dorito tile, go over here, finish his monastery without the risk of helping Black City. Black, in the meantime, decides to drop yet another farmer. He's not planning to wait until szigfrid fights for the field. He just wants to get that sweet super majority. Is it something that's worth doing? That's the question. At a different score, the answer would have been no. With 17 points on the scoreboard, the answer is yes. Your only way to lose the game as black is have red complete a big feature, such as a big field like this. With 3 meeples over here, well, at least you're guaranteeing that you're not going to lose it. szigfrid still has his own stuff. He has 5 points for the city over here. I remind you, he has an extra monastery, that's 20, but black has more field points. Well, black is going to have 12, maybe 15, probably 15 when somebody draws this crossroad tile, whilst red has only 9 over here. So overall, just under 10 points is the deficit of szigfrid, but still, some options. Well, this is a really poor move by Lord here. I can see the idea of that move. It's sort of trying to get himself a meeple into the field through this platform, but I think a better addition of that would be to go over here. Actually, no. I mean, I see the idea, but I still don't like it. The reason why I don't like it is the fact that he blocked his own field expansion. Because there's still 2 Dorito tiles left that fit into this square, and now he cannot use them to get the extra points. Moreover, it was actually not that important for black to invade with this meeple, because black already has a majority 2 versus 1. This meeple is just here for support. And red does not really have any more field invasion platforms. Well, maybe over here, like through the outside of a curve, but that would be crazy. Because red has another route to win. He can go over here and try to get the last monastery together with one more meeple. Instead, he makes his own field a bit harder to invade, not something that's worth doing. I'm a bit surprised here. He's also setting up another monastery spot, which can benefit black more than it can benefit red. I guess he didn't want to go here in order to not give back an easy 4-point road, but this is where he forgot. If black is going to get a crossroad, he's not going to go and score 4 points over here. He already has a 4-point spot over here, which would also expand his field by bringing an extra castle in. Lionel with a city tile and an interesting choice. He could go over here, simply add a city point, and make it a bit more likely that he'll finish the city in the future. Because, for example, if he gets a city cap, then red will need to complete some work in order to successfully block that square. And it's not at all guaranteed. An alternative for black is to go over here with his last meeple, as unappealing as it looks, simply for the sake of eliminating this point scoring opportunity for szigfrid, because there's still tiles that fit into the square. For example, there's still multiple splitters available, and by multiple I mean 2, one vertical and one diagonal. And if szigfrid draws one of them, he could score 7 points, 4 for the city, 3 for the farm, and also leave another city cap in the field. And that surely would be a way for red to come back into this game. Black chooses to continue his city. Red decides to break it just in case. Well, it wasn't so much as a decision as it was the only legal move. How interesting, no other tiles available. Lord now gets a fantastic tile for himself, which is the last Dorito tile with the road. Of course, now he's not going to put it over here. He's not going to help red complete his monastery. Instead, he's going to go over here and set up a monastery completion move with another road. There is still one straight line remaining, but it's great to set up a tile, even though it is just only one tile in the deck with this much impact. If he goes over here and gets the straight line afterwards, he'll not only complete his monastery but also meeple a 7-point road, and this is exactly what happens. szigfrid with the splitter tile, fantastic tile for himself, gets 4 points, drops another city cap into his field, and has the meeple majority to support his farm. Lord with problems here. He could go over here just to have an overkill majority on his field, and at some point he might have to. But he also probably wants to go over here and fight for this field, but he can't. Or he can. What do I know? I don't think this should be working out, because szigfrid can just go over here, take some points, and then if black invades, red can just reinvade over here. If anything, also red can just go over here and reinvade straight up. But I probably prefer the scoring move, because let's say if black invades, then red can reinvade later, or in some scenarios red can just place a tile over here and block the square, and then red would not have to spend a meeple to reinvade the field in the first place. This move certainly looks unpleasant because he's spending his last meeple, but it might as well be necessary, and I can't blame black for it. Seems a bit premature for me, but you know what? Had he not done that, szigfrid could have placed this starting tile over here and set up another 9-point field for himself, and that's just something that Mr. Trooper cannot survive. Lord continues his city in a bit of a weird way. And I have a suspicion that he's not counting tiles properly. He may be thinking that there was a Dorito remaining here, but there wasn't. So this square was already blocked. So it was completely okay to just build up his city directly. Maybe he's protecting the city from invasions, but I think that if you just go over here, the city cannot be invaded easily. Well, actually it can, with a splitter tile. Isn't that interesting? But then I wonder, is it worth sacrificing a point to just protect a 7-point city? And the answer appears to be no. Simply because red has better uses for a splitter elsewhere. Or does he? I was thinking that red maybe could use a splitter to drop it in his field, but this field has so many roads in it that there's actually no room to drop any more additional city caps. And also we're running very short on road tiles. So a situation in which black invades over here and red simply does not draw a tile to reinvade, a situation like this is entirely possible. Red opens a blocking square against the monastery over here. Black invades the big farm. Red will now absolutely need to reinvade and then some. But first, maybe we should go over here and take care of the monastery. There's no better move with that tile. If I'm not mistaken, there's still a straight line remaining, and yes, there is, that black could use to go over here and get a meeple back. Not an ideal situation for us, if we're red. Going over here would block the square, not completely surprisingly, because there's still one starting tile remaining. Isn't that interesting? Still a move that's worth doing. At the very least, it eliminates this straight line for black. Black now with an interesting decision. It's not obvious where to use this tile. I think I might see an idea. The move that I prefer is going over here. The purpose of that move would be to pre-block a field invasion, because the most likely invasion spot for szigfrid would be over here. Now, if red goes over here and tries to invade for that square, if we have this straight line ready, we can use this as a platform to block the invasion square. Of course, if szigfrid goes over here, there will be the option of invading through that side as well, but it is much harder as all the monastery tiles, well, all but one monastery tile has been drawn, and if he goes over here, he will be exposing a blocking platform like this against this square. And Lord finds it. That's probably the best move in the entire, well, in the entire set of available moves to him. Red will probably have to invade regardless. It is not guaranteed that black will draw a blocking tile. Black could still draw something like a regular monastery, in which case szigfrid could draw the last remaining dagger tile that fits into the square and connect. Also, if szigfrid goes here, he will be already scoring 3 points for the field, and still some chances of getting a monastery and connecting like this. So still worth trying, but with this move, to the Argentinian's credit, he severely decreased the probability of this invasion being successful. But instead, red finds another connection platform. Will it work? We're going to find out in a second. Black now with a tricky decision. So he could go... No, it's not a tricky decision at all. This is the last crossroads. This invasion's completely blocked. Bye-bye. We're headed to a decider. Yeah, I definitely would have preferred the other type of invasion as red, simply because there were two invasion routes. Of course, black would have gone over here and blocked this invasion, but as red, we could have later used this tile as a defense tile and then tried to hope for the last monastery. So that's a coin flip. A coin flip for basically the game. That's, just as good as it gets. szigfrid with a Dorito tile. Doesn't have many good uses for it. Maybe could take an 8-point city. That's not going to be enough, as he's losing massively on these fields, and black managed to equalize these fields. The extra monastery is equalized by this ruin. The scoreboard is sort of equalized by this guy, and the difference is this field. And there's just nothing big enough. Or is there? That was actually a brilliant idea by szigfrid, because he's setting up an 11-point move. It won't work, but if Lord were to draw a Dorito tile, a monastery tile, and szigfrid were to draw this bad boy, then he would have gotten himself 8 points for the city, 3 points for the field, and an instant meeple back, and then he could have even scored more. Yeah, so szigfrid now gets a monastery tile, but sadly the best he can do is just score points over here. And this is what he does. And that's why, with one of the straight lines, what he should have done at some point is set up the 6-point monastery, because now he's able to still meeple it, but he doesn't get another meeple back from his previous monastery. So this cost him a few points, because he's not able to reinvest his meeple somewhere here. All of these little things add up, and I have to congratulate Lionel here. I don't think it was just a better tile draw. In fact, that wasn't a better tile draw. szigfrid got fantastic tiles. szigfrid got 4 monasteries, a decent number of city caps, probably even more than Trooper here. So I felt like the Argentinian managed to learn some lessons from the first game, kept his meeple management much more careful, and as a result, just managed to out-strategize the reigning world vice champion. And this should make not only our Argentinian, but also our neutral fans very happy, because this means that yet again, I've been saying these words so much this week, we are headed to a decider. 2 minutes is the suggested break, which is perfect because I really need the hot beverages. It has been a lot of talking. See y'all in about 60 seconds. The decider has started. The stock of hot beverages has been replenished. And the starting player advantage has been transferred to the Argentinian, but it is szigfrid who gets the first 4 points with a city cap. Now, Mr. Lord, with not the easiest tile to place, of course he'll have to start a new city, and he'll probably have to start a new city over here. There are of course some disadvantages. It opens not 1 but 2 monastery spots. It is not that easy to invade, but still possible to invade with a Dorito. So I won't be surprised if he actually goes over here. And the more I think about this, the more I kind of like this move. It puts a bit of pressure on the city cap. It supports this road. I guess it could be blocked some of the time, but it happens no more than in 10% of the games, probably less. Instead, of course, the normal move is being made here, which might be correct, I'm not sure. But I guess the extra 30 seconds on Lord's clock were spent simply bemoaning the fact that it is not his preferred position. And we can see why. Like now, both of these squares are under pressure from both sides. And like Lord doesn't have a good move here. Probably what you want to do is just go here and start yet another city and prolong your road. Is that the move? Or just recognizing how clunky this meeple is and place it over here, just inviting red in. Honestly, not the worst idea. The idea that I would not like seeing is a move like this, trying to shield away from this guy and then facing this vulnerable square over here. Yeah, and that's why Black decides to go for the most efficient move in the short term, at the very least, one that takes advantage of both the city and the road element on the tile. Red continues his city at the top, slightly obstructing Black's city below it. Black, with a curvy tile, probably looking to go over here with a meeple, trying to get some sort of compensation from Black. Yeah, this is the standard move in this position. High H Hexig, high Mat, high El Pitufo. We have some Argentinian fans here. Any Hungarians in the chat for some balance? Well, some interesting developments here as szigfrid furthers his lead on the scoreboard. I was just a bit distracted reading the chats. I can't say that I understand everything. I guess if your question whether Carcassonne Online has true RNG, look, I can't answer this question to you from like computer science perspective. I can answer this question from a Carcassonne perspective. The distribution of tiles, like the element of randomness, seems to be basically exactly what it is in person. So the representation does appear to be accurate. I know that some players like to think that's not the case, but it's the same as it is with online poker. So what's going to happen? You're going to lose a big hand, you're going to lose a lot of money, and then you're going to say, oh, this game is rigged. It's the same here. Like, because imperfect information players have short memories. They only remember the times when they get unlucky. Nobody remembers the time when they get massively, massively, massively lucky. So sometimes, like, players who complain about luck in the chat, well, at least the good thing that it happens now much, much rare. I want to believe in part thanks to this channel, but when that does happen, very often the player complaining actually has the better luck between the two players. Just but this, of course, is if I understood your question correctly, because I might not have. And I guess after this move, you might see, oh, well, black is doing so bad because red is drawing so many monasteries. Like, this is so unlucky. Like, it's not possible. No, it's absolutely possible. This game has variance. That's what it is. And I guess now we should start thinking collectively, what can we do as Mr. Trooper here to save this game? Because szigfrid has scoring and scoring and scoring, setting up those fantastic road monasteries, now trying to block black, who probably needs to go over here and defend, or maybe not. Maybe actually, no. This city can be sacrificed. Instead, maybe we just go over here, get ourselves another city, and after red blocks our city over here, then we try to simply block this square and block red's monastery in return. That probably would be a good development for us. Oh, but this is red's move. And that's a great move. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. Okay, great move was a bit of an exaggeration. It's an okay move. It has a very obvious disadvantage that it adds 2 points to Lord, but this sort of blocking can be surprisingly effective. It's usually a bit effective later in the game, because even if szigfrid gets his way and gets a curvy tile that gets over here, even after that, black will have 3 options because all the 3 daggers are still in the deck. So these types of moves, they work well, but with a different type of tile run out. Mr. Lord, with a difficult tile to play, no good move available in this situation. I mean, what do you even do? Do you go here, start a new city? Do you start a road or something? Oh, starting a new city here, it's actually great. What a find by Lionel here. I would have preferred the meeple over here simply because he has 3 meeples. But it's actually a nice threat. If red wants to go over here and try and block black's city, yeah, exactly, he can't because he needs to save his own meeple. If he ignores that, then black can get a curve and go over here and block red's road. So yeah, absolutely stunning find here by black. Just one which I wished would have had a meeple on it, but that's a bit of a small inaccuracy. szigfrid now continues his city at the top, adding 1 point to Trooper's compensation. Oh, there we go. Hi, Ferenc. Hi, Kinga. Supporting Hungary. And it looks like your support is working, as szigfrid is ahead 8 points on the scoreboard. But still, this game, the Argentinian is playing really, really well. So, he was a bit patient. Now, he finished his road in a way which allows him to continue his city easily. This move seems to be a bit of an overkill. Yeah, because there's still plenty of tiles that red can draw to meeple this new city. Black now is forced to defend. Probably now just has to go over here. He cannot afford to lose his city. And probably the only move that so of course you have to go over here, right? The only question is, do you meeple that city or not? Either way is fine. Now we're going to see the drawback of this move over here, because red is going to go over here, start a new city. That's it. And then you have to invade. And then you can actually fail to invade, and then you lose a 12-point city and the game. This is a real possibility. Yeah, this move is very good by black. I would have probably preferred a meeple on there, simply because our opponent is the favorite to draw some sort of tile that invades the city, and in the unlikely event, red draws one of the 2 remaining blocking tiles, which are one of the 2 starting tiles. If we have a meeple on this tile, at the very least we get a 4-point compensation because our opponent is forced to continue our meeple, is forced to continue our city. Or, an even better scenario, our meeple might even deter our opponent from completing the block entirely. So the more I think about this, the more it seems that leaving this tile without meeple seems like an inaccuracy. So szigfrid starting a new road, which surprises me. Why not try and run away with the city? Like, I just don't get this. What was wrong with that move? Like, Josef's really surprising me here. Maybe just being a bit complacent with the early lead that he had. You know, this lead ain't gonna last forever. Lord gets bailed out of his failure to place a meeple over here because he gets these 4 points anyway. His city is now completely protected. There's still 4 tiles that fit into that square. Also, by the way, one of the reasons why it would have been nice to have a meeple over here, with this move, Black would have completed the city and he could have already dropped a farmer on what is, I guarantee you, a lucrative farm in the future. And you see, now szigfrid's gonna drop a farmer. So this tempo will make a difference, but because szigfrid didn't meeple the city, Black is saying, okay, are you sure? You're leaving all of that for me? Thank you so much, how generous of you. Now Black's having a 3-point city over here, which is being controlled by this road, but not for long, as there's still plenty of dagger tiles or starting tiles that go there for an 8-point city, and a meeple back for Black, and 1 point for road and no meeple Black for red. Black is now trying to pose some serious problems for red's meeples. Red is getting blocked quite a bit. He can't defend properly, so he just continues his road, completes 1 for 3 points, 1 for 2. Lord gets his 8-point city. So it's just so curious that both of these players really neglected this city until the last moment. szigfrid still does not get a defense tile, but he can at least go here and permanently block Black city over here just in case. Seems like something worth doing. Or instead he could just go over here, continue his road. That would be also something to consider if road safety is a Hungarian priority. So the straight line is still yet to be deployed by red, and I want to actually ask a question back to y'all as the follow-up to this randomness discussion. So one thing that I was very curious about this, and maybe somebody who knows more about how this sort of programming works could help out, the way the tile generator works. So does it keep working all the time throughout the game? So let's say there's a pool of available tiles and the random number generator keeps picking the tile every time the next tile is drawn. Or does it just work once? And then the tile sequence is decided for the entire game. And then later on, when the tiles are actually drawn, we just get to see which tile is next in the sequence. I hope my question is clear enough, so I'll be very curious about that. Because at least I know that in online poker, it does seem to work all the time, so it's not decided in advance for the entire hand. But again, I was told that it's a different system there. Red manages to finally protect his monastery. Before that, we do see a dubious move made by Black, actually extremely dubious move, starting a new city and giving back a city potentially next to Black's monastery. That could cost Lionel really hard, because there's still 2 splitters left in the game that only Red can use here for 6 extra points. Yeah. And there were better alternatives available. Now Black needs to think what to do with this curved tile. Probably going over here and restricting the square seems like an option. And instead, Black chooses to block himself. I cannot possibly understand that move. It could be a misclick or something, but it will be punished immediately, as Black will go over here and completely block the square. Okay, technically it is not completely blocked because there are still 2 starting tiles here. But the point of this move is that it's a pre-block. What Red is going to do, they're going to draw the final Dorito tile, and they're going to go over here, and they're going to get their monastery meeple out like this, and with that tile they're going to block this square, and with one move they will get themselves a meeple back, possibly start a 4-point road, which will then turn into a 5-point road with one of the 2 remaining horse tiles, and they will be blocking 2 of Black's meeples at the same time with Black's devoted cooperation. I'm not sure what's happening there. It could be a misclick. I don't think it was based on the timing tells. I think he might have had some idea behind this move, I guess. Maybe it's fatigue, although the Hungarian should be more tired because it's later. Maybe it's a lack of experience in comparison to his Hungarian opponent. Maybe if somebody of our Argentinian viewers could ask Lionel after the game, I'd be curious to know. But still, decent position for Black. Nothing in this game has decided. Some key tiles are yet to be drawn. Black will be completing his city at some point. There's even a chance that Black might take a shot at these 6 points in case he gets the Dorito first and the splitter later. The only thing that Black needs to do is to get a tile that goes here and can equalize the farm. Because if Black gets a splitter tile and completes his city over here, that's all great. But then Red is left with a 12-point field, which is virtually impenetrable. Not a situation that you want to be in. If that happens, Black will be left with rather marginal options for field invasions. Maybe drawing the last remaining starting tile, dropping a farmer here, and then hoping to draw the last remaining butterfly tile to invade like this. An unlikely sequence of events, to say the least. Mr. Trooper, with a crossroad tile, does not have an obvious use to it other than scoring quick points. But many a game has been decided by 2 points, so scoring 2 points absolutely does increase your winning probability. And thank you, Matt, for your answer. So you assume that the tile sequence is generated once, making it vulnerable for somebody to hack in. Yeah, this was my concern as well, because if that sequence is available somewhere, somebody could have access to it, and I presume also this is the reason why in poker, the sequence is not decided at the start of the hand just because, you know, they're higher stakes. Carcassonne, at least at the moment, does not have significant monetary prizes. I assume it's going to change at some point. In the meantime, an interesting tile for Mr. Trooper. So now we will find out how hard does he want to finish his road. So he could actually go over here and score 2 points and then set up a starting tile that gives him a meeple back. Because if he doesn't do that, then that's it. His road meeple is lost. But maybe that's not his priority. I certainly hate to be giving back my opponent a meeple immediately. So as black, I want to be either scoring 4 points over here, putting some pressure on this square and trying to block red's road, which is still live, by the way, or maybe even going over here and dropping a farmer, just because it's so important to take advantage of this platform before we get to complete our city. I'm more inclined towards the scoring move, simply because we're behind on the scoreboard and we have to get a bit more before we can truly fight for victory in this game, especially since Joseph has the farmer over here, and he might have a farmer over here later. And that's why black decides to score. This also sets up some farming options, invasion options for szigfrid, who now might go over here and expand his field, or actually he might do something else. I won't be surprised if red chooses to shut down the field and go over here and set up a crossroad tile, of which there's still one remaining in the deck, to get himself a 3-point road over here and a meeple back from this road. The more I think about this, the more I like this move, because it's only a couple point sacrifice, but it keeps the field small when we overall have a lead in a closed position. If you go over here and open the field, then suddenly there are all these invasion spots over here, and black has the long-term meeple majority because red has already committed a farmer in the south. Hi, Pavel. I have to... So, I appreciate the answer, but I have to be perfectly honest that I will have to Google some concept after the stream to fully understand what you mean. In the meantime, red does not opt for this move, but instead they make another good move. They actually just try to block black's meeple. They're unsuccessful, but at the very least, black is not able to use this platform to equalize this farmer. So this curve placement had some positional gains for the Hungarian player. Oh, look at this move by szigfrid. You see, the Hungarian player recognizes the possibility that black could draw a tile and drop a farmer here, so he makes sure to connect this little field segments to the broader field so that this possibility is no longer possible. Mr. Lord scores 4 points on the right. szigfrid now gets a lovely tile to develop his field over here. And so now the field here looks really problematic. There are very few invasion spots, and most of them involve relying on one or two tiles. For example, we could go over here and drop a farmer to try and connect through a Rodorito tile like this. Or we could drop a farmer over here, trying to connect with a curve or a straight line. The issue with that move, of course, is the one remaining crossroad, which could be used like this to cut off a black meeple, potentially. Mr. Trooper with the monastery, he goes now for their farm, and voila, lo and behold, the crossroad is drawn. Szigfrid will be finishing his road. He will be denying the black meeple an entry opportunity. And that's what you get for not meepling a city cap earlier. Because black didn't meeple a city cap 40 moves ago, black was not able to use this tile for a farmer. Szigfrid got a stronghold on the field, and voila, 40 moves later, it forces black into awkward moves like this. Still a decent move that he played, but there was always the chance of a crossroad drawn, and this is exactly what happened. This is an extremely, extremely difficult position for black, especially after Szigfrid gets a Dorito tile, which he'll use to go over here, meeple a 6-point field, and get a monastery back. Get a monastery meeple back, rather. Instead, he makes a very interesting move, and I don't think it's wrong. I think it's actually rather brilliant. He uses this tile to eliminate multiple fields connection platforms at the same time, but not all. You know what? As Mr. Trooper, even though some field platforms have been eliminated, for example, the purpose of this move was to make sure that black cannot drop a farmer over here. Black can use that connection platform, but that's brilliant from the Argentinian. There's still multiple tiles available there, and by multiple I mean one. But it is very difficult to block. Well, actually, it's not that difficult to block. It can be blocked with a Dorito. Wait! Oh no! No, 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 no! There's only one tile that's available to fit there, and it's kind of easy to block. I mean, I still like this move spatially. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Szigfrid gets himself an 8-point ruin. But yeah, probably as black, this sort of desperation is due, but it's of course extremely unlikely that he succeed. You see, none of these 3 splitter tiles are available. Of course, they would have been great for this square. And none of these guys, well, there's only one of these guys available. But wait, there's another option. So you see, the problem with this move, why it's so risky, red can get a Dorito tile or a splitter tile and turn it like this, blocking that square entirely. But if black gets a Dorito tile, black can just forego his city. Instead, he can go over here, drop a farmer like this, then hope for the last remaining city cap to get not 1, but 2 farmers into the field, taking it over and having a 12-point field for himself, plus an extra 4-point city in the process. And even after that, he'll still have 2 tiles that fit into this square that can give him a meeple back over here. But none of that is still happening, as Mr. Lord has a measly curve and needs to find a good move with it. I can see one. I think it's time to YOLO. It's time to go for 50-50. Let's go over here and try to connect through the outside of a curve. Or like this. This totally works. This might be even better if there are daggers remaining, but they are not. So the 2 moves are completely symmetrical. This move has a difference, actually. It reopens another possibility to connect to the field through a ninja farmer on the outside. A marginal one, yet it exists. A monastery tile for szigfrid. Tricky position for the Argentinian, but there is a tile sequence that can allow him to win. Red with a monastery tile. Mr. Lord with an immediate field invasion. szigfrid with a splitter, and the game is over. In a variety of possible ways. Oh, szigfrid doesn't even care about the farmer. He simply decides to score 9 points or score 6 points for the city. He decides that it is a lot of points. As szigfrid, I would have probably preferred just blocking this square, really. Because we're netting ourselves more points if we are the Hungarian. So the city is being taken by red. This still allows black to take that 9-point field, and black takes a splitter. He chooses to complete his city, does not go over there, but I think he should have thought a bit longer, because now szigfrid can just ignore this square. He can go over here and drop a farmer, or better still, he can just go over here and drop a 3-point farmer like this. That's a 5-point move and blocks this farmer entirely. Okay, he makes this sort of more normal move. Mr. Lord now completes the connection. But I don't believe that's going to be enough, because szigfrid has the big ruin, he has the monasteries, he has the 9-point field over here, and overall complete control of the game. Mr. Lord cannot do better than a 6-point city, at least having the consolation of winning the final coin flip. szigfrid gets the 4-point monastery, 6-point city for Lionel, and the points are to be counted. I believe that red will be ahead even before the fields are counted, and red is also 6 points ahead on the field. An exciting duel it is indeed. And I think a fair result for this game. I felt that Lionel overall played really, really well, just with some inconsistencies. You know, like in that final duel, his first third of the game was absolutely excellent, and it just felt that Joseph just ground down his opponent with experience. The match lasted almost 2 hours, and even though it started out great for black, not in the sense of what's happening on the scoreboard, because just szigfrid drew these 2 monasteries with a strong lead, but with how he tried to set up some blocks and defend his cities. Some really strong ideas here, you know, create some threats against this road over here. Like, this move was really tricky to find, but just a couple of crucial misses by the Argentinian ended up making all the difference. Of course, credit goes to Joseph for keeping the game under control. Like this beautiful move, blocking farm invasions, although it seems to be a bit extra. But certainly style points. And this farmer over here was utterly beautiful. Yeah, so 2 key moves that could have turned the game different for black. First of all, of course, the city cab that I was talking earlier, failure to meeple it, made sure that red was in the driver's seat on the field, and sort of black was forced to chase around with these subpar moves, which led to his meeples blocked, which led to some low prob sequences, even though they were successful in the end. And the one-time hallucination with his road meeple, of course, this is something that's very difficult to explain with things other than fatigue or nervousness or, you know, human stuff like this. But that's what Carcassonne is. It's a human game, typically played between two humans, and these things are always a factor. So congratulations to Josef for winning this match. Still congratulations for Lionel for putting a solid fight and for taking a game off the group favorite. It will absolutely matter in the end when we look at the tiebreakers, because in this group there are lots of sort of equal level players. Well, actually, I would just say that there's szigfrid. Okay, there's szigfrid, then there's Lord Terrycloth, and then there's everybody else. And from that everybody else category, anybody could qualify, and it could turn out that this one game that Lord managed to win from szigfrid will end up decisive. So just need to remind you that the top 3 players from each group advance to the next round. The top 2 players advance straight for the quarterfinals, whereas the 3rd player advances to the round of 16. In case 2 players have the same number of won matches, the first tiebreakers is the number of games that they won. So it is always better to lose a match 1-2 instead of 0-2, and it is always better to win a match 2-0 instead of 2-1. Hi, Elias. It did indeed end under 2 hours, but not by much. Updating the score to reflect the fact that the Hungarian has in fact won. And we will be wrapping up shortly. The only thing for us remaining is to see what other matches there are, and so far I'm a bit surprised that only this one match at reasonable time has been scheduled. I'm sorry, I'm not waking up for this. May my French and Taiwanese fans forgive me. So I'll see y'all tomorrow at 1900 UTC. But the reason I'm a bit surprised is because tomorrow's the deadline for the end of the first round, and some matches haven't really been scheduled. So if we just look at the group stage and add the matches, yeah, so for example, this one has not been scheduled yet, and that could be a really interesting one. Hong Kong versus Japan, both strong players. Koki, the creator of the website Carcassonne.net or .com or something like this. Actually, wait a second. That's the only match that hasn't been scheduled. So we might see this duel tomorrow at a short notice. If so, then it's likely to be closer to the morning rather than the evening. So the only way to know whether that's going to happen is to subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell notification icon. So in case there's a stream at a short notice, which in the Carcassonne Champions League is the only way to organize streams, just because of the fast pace of the tournament, then you'll get the notifications. And of course, make sure to meeple the like button for the algorithm. That helps out more than y'all might think. Oh, isn't that interesting? So, noon UTC is the match, according to the updates. Can we just check that? But then I wonder why wouldn't that reflect here? Because I thought that Sergey, who made the website, sort of made an algorithm that updates the website straight from the updates. Well, I guess that would be hard to implement. So wait, does this mean now that if the match time has been submitted, but it does not reflect on the website, that all this time Sergey has actually manually gone to the website and added the match time himself? That's like a crazy commitment to be doing for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Somebody needs to help him out. I hope he gets at least some help from his fellow Ukrainians. We don't know yet the pairings for next week, so The only thing that we do know, again, I just want to double check the updates. And from there, we do see that 1200 UTC is the time. So 2 streams tomorrow and 2 interesting ones. East Tongue versus Koki Yamaguchi at 12 noon UTC. And in the evening, our reigning Mind Sports Olympiad gold medalist against the reigning Carcassonne Champions League gold medalist Glovier versus someone you know, Guillermo Neves versus Vladimir Kovalev. So that's our plan for tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.